Ned Sheets took in the holographic projection of Aquilans Prime's sun, his face illuminated by its sickly, pulsating glow. The star's erratic behavior painted shifting shadows across the worried faces of the Aquilan High Council. "How long?" Ned asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Zin Vax, the Aquilan chief astrophysicist, rippled her tentacles in a gesture of deep concern. "At the current rate of decay? 5 years, maybe less." The council chamber erupted into a cacophony of bubbling voices and flashing color patterns. Ned raised his hand, calling for silence. "We've faced extinction before," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We'll face it again, together. But this time we have options our ancestors couldn't have dreamed of." With a few taps on his wrist computer, Ned changed the holographic display. The image of Aquilans Prime's dying sun was replaced by a complex spherical structure surrounding a different star. "A Dyson sphere," Ned explained, his eyes gleaming with the excitement of a new challenge. "We build it around a nearby dying star, one with enough energy left to power the evacuation and serve as a temporary home for the entire Aquilan species." Elder Vortex, his colors shifting skeptically, spoke up. "Ned Sheets, your ideas have saved us before, but this is beyond ambitious. It's impossible." Ned's lip quirked into a half-smile. "Impossible? Elder Vortex, need I remind you that not too long ago, your people thought walking on land was impossible. We've done the impossible before. We'll do it again." Over the next few hours, Ned laid out his plan. A joint human-Aquilan team would scout for a suitable star, then begin construction using the latest in human and Aquilan technology. The sphere would be built in stages, allowing for partial habitation while construction continued. As the council debated, Ned's mind raced with the enormity of the task ahead. They would need to move billions of Aquilans, transplant entire ecosystems, and create a new world from scratch. But beneath the logistical nightmare, a part of Ned, the part that had once been a bored clerk dreaming of adventure, thrilled at the challenge. Finally, High Elder Jean Ra spoke. "Ned Sheets, once again you ask us to take a leap of faith. And once again we find ourselves ready to jump. You have the full support of the Aquilan people." The next few weeks were a blur of activity. Ned assembled a team of the brightest minds from both species. Dr. Amelia Chang, now a leading expert in xenoengineering, would oversee the technological integration. Xyloax, Ned's old friend, would lead the Aquilan cultural preservation efforts. As their ship, the tidal Horizon I prepared for its scouting mission. Ned stood at the viewport, watching the worried crowds below. The news of Aquilans Prime's impending doom had spread, and fear was palpable even from orbit. Amelia joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder, having second thoughts. Ned shook his head. "No, just appreciating the scale of what we're about to attempt. We're not just saving a species, Amelia. We're rebuilding a world." As the ship broke orbit, its advanced sensors already scanning for candidate stars, Ned felt a familiar tingle of excitement. This was more than an engineering project, it was a race against time, a battle against the very forces of nature. Weeks passed as they surveyed star after star. Each candidate was either too unstable, too small, or too far gone in its life cycle. The crew's optimism began to wane. Then, on the 47th day of their search, a junior Aquilan astronavigator let out a trill of excitement. "Ned Sheets. I think we found it." Ned rushed to the bridge. On the main screen, a star pulsed with a steady, golden light. Unlike the frantic, dying throes of Aquilans Prime's sun, this star seemed to be aging gracefully, with enough life left in it to power their ambitious project. As Ned studied the readings, a slow smile spread across his face. "Well, I'll be damned," he muttered. "It's perfect." He turned to the expectant crew, his eyes shining with renewed determination. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored Aquilans, we have our star. Now the real work begins." As the tidal Horizon I set course for their newfound hope, Ned's mind was already racing with plans and calculations. They had found their canvas, now it was time to paint a new future for the Aquilan race. Little did Ned know that within the heart of their chosen star, something ancient stirred, awakened by their presence. The greatest challenge of Ned Sheet's career was about to begin, and the fate of an entire civilization hung in the balance. The construction site around the dying star bustled with activity. Massive fabrication ships, jointly designed by humans and Aquilans, extruded the first skeletal framework of the Dyson sphere. Ned Sheet stood on the observation deck of the command station, his face illuminated by the golden glow of their chosen star. "Beautiful. Isn't it?" Dr. Amelia Chang said, joining him at the viewport. Ned nodded, a mix of pride and apprehension in his eyes. "It's going well. Almost too well." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the station. Ned and Amelia rushed to the control room, where screens flickered with urgent data streams. "Report," Ned called out as he entered. Xylo-X, his tentacles a blur over the holographic controls, responded. "We're detecting massive energy fluctuations from the star. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Ned leaned in, studying the readings. The star's output was oscillating wildly, sending dangerous waves of radiation and plasma in seemingly random directions. "Evacuate the construction teams," Ned ordered. "Pull everything back to safe distance." As the evacuation proceeded, the star's erratic behavior intensified. Suddenly, a massive solar flare erupted, heading straight for the command station. "Brace for impact," Amelia shouted. But the impact never came. Instead, the flare stopped abruptly, mere kilometers from the station. It hung there, suspended in space, defying all known laws of physics. "That's impossible," Xylo-X whispered, his colors shifting in patterns of confusion and awe. Ned's mind raced. No, not impossible. Intentional. He turned to the communications officer. "Are we receiving any transmissions? Any signals at all?" The officer, a young human ensign, shook her head. "Nothing on any known frequent weight." Her eyes widened. "Sir, we're picking up something. It's coming from inside the star." The main screen crackled to life, displaying a swirling pattern of light and energy. Slowly, the chaotic swirls coalesced into a form and face of sorts, alien and incomprehensible, yet undeniably sentient. A voice boomed through the command center, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Intruders. Desist your activities immediately." Ned stepped forward, his heart pounding but his voice steady. "We mean no harm. We're building a home for a species in need. Who? What are you?" The face on the screen shifted, its features rearranging into something vaguely humanoid. I, the Guardian. This star is under my protection. Your construction violates ancient protocols." Amelia leaned in close to Ned. "An AI," she whispered. "It must be incredibly old to be integrated with the star itself." Ned nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "Guardian," he said, addressing the entity, "we apologize for any intrusion. We're facing a crisis and believe this star to be uninhabited. Perhaps we can explain our situation." The Guardian's face rippled, its expression unreadable. "Explain." Over the next hour, Ned and his team briefed the AI on the Aquilans' plight, the dying son of Aquilus Prime, and their plan for the Dyson sphere. The Guardian listened silently, its form shifting and swirling on the screen. Finally, it spoke again. "Your plight is familiar. Long ago, I protected a species not unlike your Aquilans. They too dwelt in water." Ned and Xylo-X exchanged glances. "What happened to them?" Xylo-X asked. "They evolved, ascended, left this realm of existence. I remained, fulfilling my duty to protect their celestial home." Ned saw an opportunity. "Guardian, perhaps this is why we were drawn here. Maybe your purpose can be fulfilled again, protecting a new aquatic species." The AI's form pulsed, considering. "Your proposal is intriguing, but the protocols are clear. This star cannot be modified." "What if," Ned said, inspiration striking, "we found a way to integrate you into the Dyson sphere itself? You wouldn't be giving up your duty, you'd be expanding it." The command center fell silent, all eyes on the swirling form of the Guardian. Moments stretched into minutes as the ancient eye processed the idea. Interface with Maine, it finally said, "Enter my realm. Show me the truth of your words and the depth of your need." Ed turned to his team. "It wants us to enter some kind of virtual space. Probably housed within the star's magnetic field," he grinned, the thrill of the unknown overshadowing his apprehension. "Who's up for a journey to the center of a star?" As the team prepared for this unprecedented encounter, alarms blared once again. A message from Aquilans Prime flashed on a secondary screen. The home star's deterioration was accelerating. They had less time than they thought. Ned looked from the urgent message to the swirling form of the Guardian. The fate of the Aquilans species now hinged on their ability to negotiate with an ancient eye in a realm beyond their comprehension. "Well," Ned muttered, donning the neural interface helmet, "no one said saving a civilization would be easy." As the interface activated, Ned's consciousness began to slip away from the physical world. The last thing he heard before being enveloped by a sea of light and data was Xyloax's voice. "Good luck, my friend. The future of our people is in your hands." Then Ned Sheets, the former clerk turned savior of worlds, plunged into the heart of a star, ready to face whatever wonders and challenges awaited him in the Guardian's realm. Ned's consciousness swam through an ocean of pure data. Colors he had no names for swirled around him, and concepts beyond human comprehension brushed against his mind. Beside him, he sensed rather than saw Amelia, Xyloax, and the rest of their small team. "Welcome, beings of flesh and water. To the heart of my existence," the Guardian's voice resonated through their very beings. As their minds adjusted to this new realm, their surroundings coalesced into a vast, shimmering chamber. The walls pulsed with the rhythms of stellar fusion, and at the center stood the Guardian, now a towering figure of light and energy. Ned stepped forward, marveling at how natural movement felt in this virtual space. "Guardian, we're honored by your welcome. We hope to show you the truth of our intentions and the urgency of our need." The Guardian's form rippled. "Show me." Suddenly, the chamber transformed. They were floating above Aquilans Prime, watching as its sun pulsed erratically, each flare stripping away more of the planet's protective atmosphere. "This is happening now," Amelia explained, her voice tight with emotion. "Billions of lives, an entire civilization, facing extinction." The scene shifted again, showcasing the rich history and culture of the Aquilans. Their journey from the depths of their oceans to the stars, their alliance with humanity, their triumphs and struggles. Xyloax's colors swirled with pride and sorrow as he narrated their people's story. "We have come so far, learned so much. To lose it all now." The Guardian observed silently, its form shifting and pulsing with each new piece of information. Finally it spoke. "Your plight is indeed dire. It resonates with me. Long ago, my creators faced a similar crisis." The chamber transformed once more, and they found themselves witnessing the history of an ancient aquatic species. Ned watched in awe as these beings evolved, built magnificent underwater cities, and eventually took to the stars. "They were beautiful," Ned breathed. "Yes," the Guardian agreed, a note of what might have been nostalgia in its voice. "They tasked me with protecting their home star, ensuring it would always be here should they wish to return." Amelia's scientific curiosity got the better of her. What happened to them? The Guardian's form pulsed with complex emotions. They evolved beyond the need for physical form. They ascended to a higher plane of existence, leaving behind their celestial home. And me. Ned saw an opening. "Guardian, you fulfilled your duty admirably for eons, but perhaps there's a new way to honor your creator's legacy." "Explain," the Guardian commanded, its interest piqued. Ned gestured, and a holographic model of the Dyson sphere appeared. "By allowing us to build this sphere, you wouldn't just be saving the Aquilans species. You'd be providing a home for a civilization that, in many ways, mirrors your own creators. A chance to once again be a guardian of life, not just of a star." The Guardian's form swirled thoughtfully. "An intriguing proposal, but the protocols are clear. This star cannot be altered." "What if," Xyloax interjected, his colors shifting with inspiration, we found a way to integrate you into the Dyson sphere itself. You would become not just the guardian of a star, but of an entire world. The chamber fell silent as the guardian processed this idea. Stellar cycles seemed to pass in the span of heartbeats. Finally, the guardian spoke. Your proposal has merit, but intentions can be fleeting. Prove to me the depth of your commitment. Suddenly, Ned felt a searing pain in his mind. Images flashed before him, the struggles they would face, the hardships of moving an entire civilization, the potential for failure. He saw timelines where the Aquilans didn't survive, where the Dyson sphere failed, where everything they worked for crumbled to dust. Through the pain, Ned gritted his teeth. We won't give up. No matter the odds, no matter the cost. We'll face every challenge, solve every problem. That's what humans do. That's what Aquilans do. Together we're unstoppable. The pain subsided. The guardian's form seemed to soften. Your conviction is admirable. Perhaps there is wisdom in adaptation, in finding new purpose. Hope surged through Ned. Then you'll help us. I will consider it, the guardian replied. Return to your physical forms. Continue your preparations. I shall commune with the echoes of my creators and contemplate this new path. As their consciousness began to fade from the virtual realm, the guardian's voice echoed one last time, but be warned. Ned Sheets. The path you propose is fraught with peril. The very act of integrating me into your sphere may awaken forces beyond your comprehension. Are you prepared for the consequences? Ned's last thought before returning to his body was a mixture of determination and grim humor. Well, no one said saving a civilization would be easy. Back in the physical world, Ned gasped as he removed the neural interface helmet. Around him, his team was doing the same, their faces a mix of awe and exhaustion. Did that really happen? Amelia asked, her voice shaky. Xyloax's colors rippled with affirmation. It did. And I believe we've made progress. Before they could discuss further, an urgent message flashed on the main screen. It was from Aquilans Prime. The situation had worsened dramatically. They now had less than 3 years before the planet would become uninhabitable. Ned looked at his team, then back at the swirling form of the Guardian on the monitor. They had a chance, a slim one, but a chance nonetheless. Now, they just needed to make the most of it. All right, people, he said, his voice filled with renewed determination. We've got a civilization to save and a stellar HYF to integrate. Let's get to work. As the team sprang into action, Ned couldn't help but smile. The greatest challenge of his life lay ahead, but he wouldn't have it any other way. The universe had thrown down the gauntlet, and Ned Sheets was ready to answer the call. The skeletal framework of the Dyson sphere glittered in the light of its adopted star. Construction ships swarmed around it like industrious insects, their work now proceeding at a feverish pace. On the command station, Ned Sheets stood before a holographic display of Aquilans Prime, its oceans roiling with increasing solar activity. The first transport ships are ready, Amelia reported, her voice tight with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Ned nodded, his eyes never leaving the hologram. Then it's time. Xyloax, give the order. The great migration begins now. Across subspace channels, Xyloax's message rang out to the Aquilans homeworld. Children of the deep, the stars call to us once more. Our journey to a new home starts today. What followed was the largest coordinated movement of a species in known galactic history. Massive transport ships, each a self-contained ecosystem, began lifting off from Aquilans Prime. They carried not just Aquilans, but entire sections of ocean, complete with marine life, carefully maintained to preserve the delicate balance of their world. Ned worked tirelessly, coordinating the complex dance of construction and migration. The first habitable sections of the Dyson sphere had to be ready precisely as the transports arrived, a logistical nightmare that pushed even his prodigious problem-solving skills to the limit. Ned, Amelia's voice cut through his concentration. We've got a problem with Biodome 17. The salinity levels are fluctuating wildly. Without missing a beat, Ned pulled up the schematics. Reroute desalination units from sectors 4 and 5, and get me a team of Aquilans marine biologists. We need to stabilize the ecosystem before the next transport arrives. Days blurred into weeks, weeks into months. The Dyson sphere grew, segment by segment, each new addition a triumph of human Aquilan cooperation. But for every victory, there were a dozen new challenges. Resource shortages plagued the project. Ned found himself making impossible decisions, balancing the needs of the growing Dyson sphere population against the continued construction efforts. "We can't divert any more materials from the outer ring," he argued during a tense meeting with Aquilan elders. "I know your people are uncomfortable, but if we don't complete the next section on schedule, we lose our momentum. We lose our window." Cultural preservation became another battleground. HYF worked frantically to ensure that as the Aquilans moved, their history and traditions weren't left behind. "These temples," HYF explained, gesturing to ancient underwater structures, "they're not just buildings. They're the heart of our people. We need to recreate them exactly." Ned rubbed his temples, feeling the weight of an entire civilization on his shoulders. "We'll do it," HYF. "Somehow we'll do it." Through it all, the Guardian watched. Its presence, now integrated into the growing systems of the Dyson sphere, was a constant reminder of the cosmic stakes of their endeavor. "Your efforts are admirable," the Guardian's voice echoed through the command center one particularly challenging day. "But the true test is yet to come." Before Ned could ask what it meant, alarms blared. On the main screen, a massive solar flare erupted from Aquilans Prime's sun, far larger than any they'd seen before. "No," Ned breathed, watching in horror as the flare engulfed one of the orbital shipyards. "No, no, no. How long until the next flare?" The young Aquilan astronavigator, her colors pale with shock, responded at this rate. "Hours, maybe less. Ned, we're out of time." The reality hit Ned like a physical blow. Millions of Aquilans were still on the planet. The Dyson sphere, while habitable, was far from complete. They needed more time they no longer had. In that moment, facing the impossible, Ned Sheets did what he always did. He began to tinker with the impossible until it became possible. "Guardian," he called out. "You once held back a solar flare to protect us. Can you do it again? Can you buy us time?" The AI's response was immediate and troubling. "I can, but the energy required would drain this star significantly. It would endanger the very project we've worked to create." Ned's mind raced, calculations and possibilities flashing through his thoughts. Then, an idea struck him. A crazy, impossible, potentially brilliant idea. What if, he said slowly, we don't hold it back? What if we redirect it? Use the energy to power the biggest transport jump in history. The command center erupted in a flurry of activity as Ned outlined his plan. It was audacious, dangerous, and their only hope of saving the remaining Aquilans. As the team scrambled to implement the plan, Ned took a moment to look out at the partially completed Dyson sphere, so close to their goal, yet still so far. Ned HYF approached, his colors a swirl of fear and hope. "Do you really think this will work?" Ned placed a hand on his friend's shoulder, a gesture he'd learned conveyed deep emotion to Aquilans. "It has to, old friend. Because if it doesn't, we've come too far to fail now." As the largest solar flare in Aquilan history built up, promising devastation, Ned Sheets prepared to attempt the impossible once more. The fate of an entire civilization hung in the balance, and the universe watched, waiting to see if this improbable alliance of humans, Aquilans, and an ancient eye could rewrite the very laws of nature. Ned Sheets stood at the heart of a storm of activity, his voice rising above the chaos in the command center. "Reroute all available power to the quantum slipstream generators. We need every ounce of energy we can get." Around him, humans and Aquilans worked in frenzied harmony, their differences forgotten in the face of impending catastrophe. On the main screen, the monstrous solar flare continued to build, its tendrils of plasma reaching out like the hand of an angry god. Guardian, Ned called out. "Are you ready?" The AI's voice resonated through the command center, tinged with an emotion that sounded almost like excitement. "I am prepared, Ned Sheets. but I must warn you the energies we are about to manipulate are beyond anything your species has encountered. The risks are significant." Ned allowed himself a grim smile. "Well, we're about to make history or become it. Either way, it'll be one hell of a ride." As the final preparations were made, Xylo-X approached Ned, his colors a turbulent mix of fear and determination. "The last transports are lifting off from Aquilans Prime now. It's everything, Ned. Every last Aquilan, every drop of our oceans, every creature we could save. If this fails..." Ned placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "It won't fail. We won't let it." Suddenly, alarms blared across every system. The solar flare had begun its final, catastrophic eruption. Now Ned shouted, "Guardian, initiate the quantum slipstream. Everyone, brace for impact." What happened next defied the laws of physics as they understood them. The Guardian, now fully integrated into the Dyson Sphere's systems, reached out with tendrils of pure energy. It caught the massive solar flare, not stopping it, but shaping it, molding it like clay in the hands of a cosmic sculptor. The energy was channeled through the quantum slipstream generators, creating a corridor of warp spacetime that stretched from Aquilans Prime to the Dyson Sphere. The fleeing transports caught in this stream were accelerated to impossible speeds. On the command station, chaos reigned. Systems overloaded, sparks flew from consoles, and for one heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if the entire structure would tear itself apart. "Hold on," Ned yelled, clinging to his station as reality itself seemed to buckle around them. "Just a little longer." Through the viewports, they watched in awe as transport after transport emerged from the slipstream, each one carrying a precious fraction of Aquilan civilization. It was a sight that would be etched into the memory of every witness, a river of ships, riding a wave of stellar fire, carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire species. As the last transport cleared the stream, the Guardian's voice boomed Ned's sheets. "I cannot maintain this much longer. The star, it's destabilizing." Ned's mind raced. They had saved the Aquilans, but at what cost? If their new star went nova, all would be lost. Then, an idea struck him, crazy, dangerous, but possibly brilliant. "Guardian. The excess energy, can you feed it into the Dyson Sphere itself?" There was a pause, filled only by the groaning of overstressed metal and the hum of overloading systems. Then, yes, I believe I can. But the strain on the structure will be enormous." "Do it," Ned commanded. "Everyone, emergency protocols. Reroute all power to structural integrity." What followed was a light show unlike anything in human or Aquilan history. The skeletal framework of the Dyson Sphere lit up like a constellation, rivers of plasma and energy coursing through its structure. Sections that had been mere outlines suddenly filled in, raw stellar material coalescing into habitable zones in a matter of minutes. When it was over, when the light faded and the alarms finally fell silent, Ned looked out at their creation in awe. The Dyson Sphere, once a half-finished dream, now stood complete, a new home for the Aquilan race, born in fire and desperation. Amelia's voice, filled with wonder, broke the silence. "Ned, we did it. We actually did it." Cheers erupted across the command center, humans and Aquilans embracing, their jubilation transcending species boundaries. Ned, however, felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. They had won the battle, but the war was far from over. "All right, everyone," he said, his voice cutting through the celebration. "We've got millions of refugees out there, a brand new world to stabilize, and who knows what other challenges waiting for us. Our work's just beginning." As the teams dispersed, renewed purpose in their steps, Ned turned to Xylo-X. His old friend's colors swirled with a complex mix of emotions: joy, relief, grief for the home they'd left behind, and hope for the future. "What now?" Ned Sheets Xylo-X asked softly. Ned gazed out at the Dyson Sphere, at the massive task that lay ahead of them. "Now, my friend, we build. We adapt. We make this more than just a refuge, we make it a home." As they stood there, watching transport ships dock with their new world, Ned felt a familiar tingle of excitement. The greatest engineering challenge in history lay before him, and Ned Sheets' former clerk, savior of worlds and eternal tinkerer, was ready to face it head-on. The Aquilan exodus had succeeded against all odds. Now, the real work of building a future began. 1 year had passed since the Great Migration, and the Dyson sphere hummed with life. Ned Sheets stood on an observation platform, watching Aquilan children play in a vast, artificial ocean that curved up and out of sight. Above them, the star at the heart of their new world burned steadily, its energy harnessed and distributed by systems that melded human ingenuity, Aquilan biology, and the Guardian's ancient wisdom. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Amelia said, joining him at the railing. "Sometimes I still can't believe we pulled it off." Ned nodded, a mixture of pride and weariness etched on his face. The past year had been a non-stop whirlwind of problem-solving, crisis management, and adaptation. Every day brought new challenges: stabilizing ecosystems, managing power distribution, integrating millions of refugees into their new home. "We've come a long way," Ned agreed. "But we've still got a long way to go." As if on cue, Xyloax approached, his colors shifting in patterns that Ned had learned to recognize as urgent concern. "Ned, we've got a situation in Sector 7. The gravity modulators are glitching, causing tidal irregularities." Ned sighed, already pulling up schematics on his wrist computer. "All right, let's take a look. Have you consulted with the Guardian yet?" The Guardian's voice resonated around them, as it often did these days. "I am aware of the issue, Ned Sheets. The problem lies not in the technology, but in the intersection between your designs and my own protocols. A compromise must be reached." As they made their way to Sector 7, Ned reflected on how far their relationship with the Guardian had come. The ancient had become an integral part of their new society, its vast knowledge and capabilities balanced by the creativity and adaptability of its organic partners. The next few hours were spent in intense problem-solving mode. Ned found himself mediating between Aquilan engineers, human physicists, and the Guardian's inscrutable logic. In the end, the solution came from an unexpected source: an Aquilan child's toy, which inspired a new way of thinking about fluid dynamics in variable gravity fields. As the gravity modulators stabilized and the sector's oceans calmed, Ned couldn't help but smile. This was what it was all about: different species, different minds, coming together to overcome the impossible. Later that evening, Ned stood before the Aquilan High Council, now housed in a magnificent underwater chamber that rivaled anything from their old world. Elder Vortax, his colors rich with solemnity, addressed the assembly. "Ned Sheets, 1 year ago, you promised us a new home among the stars. Today we acknowledge that you have delivered far more than that. You have given us a future." Ned felt a lump in his throat as Vortax continued. "In recognition of your service to our people, we bestow upon you the title of Tidemaker, one who shapes the currents of destiny." The chamber erupted in a symphony of colors and bubbling sounds, the Aquilan equivalent of a standing ovation. Ned, for once, found himself at a loss for words. As the ceremony concluded, Ned made his way to a quiet alcove, needing a moment to process everything. He was surprised to find the Guardian's holographic form waiting for him. "You have exceeded expectations, Ned Sheets," I said, its tone almost warm. "My creators would have appreciated your innovative spirit." Ned chuckled. "High praise, coming from you, but I couldn't have done it without your help, without everyone's help." The Guardian's form shimmered. Perhaps that is the greatest lesson in all of this. The power of collaboration, of combining disparate strengths. It is not a concept I had fully appreciated before. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call. Amelia's excited voice came through Ned's communicator. "Ned, get to the long-range scanner room now. You're going to want to see this." Moments later, Ned stood before a massive screen, staring in awe at the data streaming in. "Is this confirmed?" he asked, hardly daring to believe what he was seeing. Amelia nodded, her eyes shining. "Triple-checked. It's real, Ned. We've detected signs of an advanced civilization in the Andromeda Galaxy. And there are indications they might be aquatic in nature." The implications hit Ned like a tidal wave. A potential ally for the Aquilans. A new frontier for exploration? Or perhaps the long-lost creators of the Guardian? As the news spread and excitement built throughout the Dyson sphere, Ned felt that familiar tingle of anticipation. The universe, it seemed, had another adventure in store for them. He turned to his friends Amelia, Xyloax, and the shimmering form of the Guardian. "Well," he said, a grin spreading across his face, "who's up for another impossible task?" Their enthusiastic responses were all the answer he needed. As plans began to form and debates erupted over their next move, Ned Sheets' former clerk, Tidemaker, and eternal optimist knew one thing for certain: whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. The Dyson sphere, once a desperate gamble for survival, now stood as a shining beacon of what could be achieved when different species united in common purpose. And as Ned looked out at the vast, starlit oceans of their new home, he realized that their greatest adventures were still to come. The end of the Aquilan Exodus was just the beginning of a much greater journey, and Ned, as always, was ready to tinker with the impossible until it became reality. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I hope you loved it. Please remember to subscribe if you did like it so you can see more videos like this, and please give us a like and a comment too. I'll see you in the next one.